Bill, introduction.
That bill is set down for first reading. The House now comes to questions for oral answer, and the first question stands in the name of the Right Honourable Winston Peters.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This question is to the Prime Minister and asks, will he take responsibility for the failure of government policy as revealed in the Pike River Royal Commission?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, my government has taken responsibility for implementing the Royal Commission's recommendations to ensure such tragedy does not happen again. While much of the fault of the tragedy lies with the Pike River Coal Company, the Royal Commission also makes it clear that the regulatory environment was not effective for 20 years and that it was not actively administered by the Department of Labour. I can only take responsibility clearly for the period for which I've been Prime Minister, and this clearly took place over a long period of time. In response to the magnitude of the tragedy, the Minister of Labour resigned. That was the honourable thing to do.
The Right Honourable Winston Peters.
Does he accept that if the government had proper policies in place, this negligence on the part of other parties could not have, and most probably would not have happened, and most likely 29 men would still be alive today?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, well, I think the Royal Commission made it clear that it was possible that these deaths were preventable. I think the Royal Commission also made it clear, and correctly and legally so, that the primary responsibility for health and safety rests with the company, but the government, as the regulator through the Department of Labour, also has to shoulder some of that responsibility.
The Right Honourable Winston Peters.
Now, does he not think there is a pattern here of removing sound rules and regulations, such as that which led to the Leaky Homes disasters in their tens of thousands, the Rena disaster, and Pike River disaster, and will he admit now national culpability in these catastrophes?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, no.
The Right Honourable Winston Peters.
Why did he not travel to Greymouth yesterday to speak with the Pike River families on the findings of the Royal Commission? And what does he say to Bernie Monk and others who were deeply hurt by his non-attendance, given he told Pike River families, quotes, "We're committed to getting the boys out, and nothing's going to change that," end of quotes, only to back down again on that promise?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, okay, in terms of the first instance, this was the Royal Commission's report, and so it was important that that was presented. I obviously had a responsibility to deal with that and to front that on a number of different areas, and to chair Cabinet because Cabinet wanted to take that report and actually start putting it into place straight away. So that was the first instance. In terms of the body recovery, as I've said on numerous occasions, the government is committed to that process as long as there's a credible and sensible plan and safe plan, or safe and credible plan. What the Royal Commission's report actually says, if the member chooses to read it, and I can point him to, I think, to page 230 of Volume 2, where it quite clearly runs through exactly what the view of Professor Galvin is from University of New South Wales when he was giving advice in the deed of settlement in relation to body recovery to solid energy. Professor Galvin says that the probability of getting into the mine is actually quite remote, that it's irrelevant, is irrelevant how much money is actually spent, that the risks to those who could go in the mine include drowning, explosion, the roof caving in, and various other aspects that could threaten the lives. I've said to Bernie Monk, say to the families, we understand completely their desire for closure and for the removal of the bodies from Pike River Mine, but I think most New Zealanders would agree with me that can only take place if we can be sure that those that would go in the mine to undertake that body recovery would come out alive. To not do so would be derelict in our duties.
The Right Honourable Winston Peters.
Why did he spend so much time on television last night attacking both the company and the Labour Department without admitting that it was the National Party that changed the rules on these matters as early as 1992? And why doesn't he therefore not accept the government's culpability, because they and his colleagues are the people who are responsible?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, firstly, I don't think it would be correct to characterise me as attacking people. I did paraphrase the Royal Commission, which were quite damning on the company. If Mr. Peters doesn't think that a company that had, in 48 days prior to an explosion, 21 recordings of methane in excess of the explosion level is a company that was derelict in his duties, he's free to do so. I'd also point out that he's been a Minister of Governments over the last 20 years. If he wanted to, he also could have changed the laws.
The Right Honourable Winston Peters.
Of course, they were kicking me out of the caucus at the time. That's the reason why. But my supplementary question is this. It's exactly on these policies.
Order.
Why does he think? Why does he think? No, don't apologise now.
Order. Order. I apologise, the right honourable gentleman. We're not going to get too far if this keeps going. I think please let the member ask his question. Supplementary question, Right Honourable Winston Peters.
Why does the Prime Minister think that the Honourable Kate Wilkinson resigning only one portfolio represents a government properly shouldering its responsibilities?
Mr. Speaker, I would argue actually properly shouldering its responsibilities is actually implementing the recommendations from the Royal Commission. In the end, that's the thing that's likely to make the difference over the course of future health and safety issues for New Zealand workers. In terms of the resignation from a portfolio, well, firstly, that's consistent with the Westminster tradition. We see that more regularly. We've seen it in previous governments in New Zealand's history, and I'd say the same thing I said yesterday, that there is no indication that the Minister, through any action or inaction, led to the deaths of the 29 miners, but the ministry for which she happened to be the minister responsible at the time clearly has to shoulder some responsibility, and so she did the honourable thing to resign.
Question number 2, the Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the Prime Minister, does he have confidence in all his ministers?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, yes.
The Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does he